The negotiations the heroes have been leading for the past 5 days are on the verge of falling apart amidst blood and accusations. Assassins wearing Razmiran robes and exalting Razmir stormed the treaty signing, disrupting the agreements between the nations surrounding Lake and Carthan in their alliance against the Whispering Tyrant. Nearly all the delegates have been injured. While the heroes defeated these assassins, tensions run high. Delegates blame Kionin for the poor security, and all parties turn on Alzarius, who proclaimed his innocence. The disruption happened just an hour ago. Guards have taken the bodies to the morgue, and the Razmiran delegation to jail. Dalamian and the heroes have left the Callistrian temple and returned to their lodging to clean up before considering their next steps. Additionally, the party has leveled to 12th level, and for this midday level up, we'll use one of my standard approaches. Everyone gets their new abilities, spells, spell slots. Everyone can prepare newly granted spell slots or daily uses, but we're not refreshing resources that have been spent in the earlier combat. Before we pick back up the story, let's hear what the heroes are excited about for their characters at this level.
I guess I'll go first. I picked up something brand new to the character's kit, which is Broom, which is a 12th level feat that lets me just fly around on my staff. I could technically use a broom, but anything that's kind of that shape of like a stick works. So, staff of fire flying around. Also, I picked up woodworking because we need to fix up our friend Amka. I need to make Amka's body. Also, we need to check on the Hootgrowl egg. I assume we've been taking care of it.
I figured we had
Maybe.
someone here at the manor house keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. So, have you ever had a crossbow and it wasn't loaded, but you really wanted it loaded, but you also wanted to cast a spell? Well, you get Eldritch Reload, and then every time you cast a spell from a slot, it reloads for you. Desi's very happy to have this. I know, especially in that last fight. I feel like they got off one, maybe two crossbow shots, but then the reload action was just such a burden, and there were lots of healing and other things to be done. So now I can do both a little better.
Vanarel, you want to go for yours?
Sure. Well, kind of expanding off the same thing that Dezi just mentioned. You ever been in a fight with about 13 other guys all in a bunch of masks, and you want to size up more than one of them at a time? Well, that's what my solution is. I picked up Double Prey at this level. It really is just nothing more than to do my hunt prey. I can pick out two people or two creatures and size them up. I also have remembered that I have favored prey. Not that it would have applied in the last fight, but it's something I picked up at 10th level that I have completely blanked on until just now. But that's only if we have to face off against any sort of demony thing, because we still have a horn to deal with, and we still have a potential demon lord that might erupt out and like fight us once a month still. So
For Daegron's, I picked up another kind of action compression, just like you guys did. Instead, I get Dueling Dance. So instead of needing to re-up my Dueling Parry every turn, I can have it do a stance where it stays on the whole time, unless I break it, which is grappling, a few other little things like that, but should save me a lot of time. More time for swinging.
And one last thing, Bia picked up a new ability. Bia can now be elf. Bia can also speak. Bia might speak with a third-person accent kind of quirk. So Bia is going to be like my second character now.
So the four of you have reassembled back at the manor where you'd been staying. You've left the temple. It is being cleansed and repaired and all manners of things, both between the town guard wrapping up what they can and the priests beginning to clean what they can. And after getting back to the house here, Dalamian suggests everyone goes clean up themselves just a little bit, wash off the blood, maybe change clothes, and then meet back in the main hall to discuss what comes next. And so when you've all arrived back after time to clean a little bit, you probably can heal 1 10-minute worth of activities while this was going on as well. So if you want to handle that, you don't need to roll it, just apply it. I don't want to spend time on that right now. But Dalamian addresses you all. My friends, We need to uncover what happened here today. Although it appears this was a coordinated attack by Razmiri agents, I am positive that Queen Talindia will want proof before we take actions. I hereby empower you to investigate this matter and to follow wherever it leads. We need to learn who is behind this. You must act quickly. She passes a slip of parchment across the table. This writ will inform Greengold's guards that you are working on behalf of myself and the Queen. They will let you examine the bodies of the assassins and enter the holding cells to question Alzarius and his staff. I do not trust him, but the assassins clearly tried to kill him as well. So perhaps there is some truth to his claims that he is not involved. But if not him, then who ordered this? Please, keep me informed of any developments. And good luck.
Yeah, I guess we should question them.
Alzarius
My
didn't
plane-
seem to want to harm us. Maybe he was giving, how do you say, a bit more guarantees than he had right to, but it certainly didn't seem like a setup for.
Honestly, with how they proudly proclaimed where they supposedly came from, I am disinclined to believe that they are from Razmir at
Well,
all.
as Alzarius did seem to at least recognize them or command them to stop. He might know if they're Razmiran, and if they are, possibly know who they could be.
I think all of these answers will be coming from our friend. So let's go talk to him.
Yes, I think he may know more. It could be, who knows, multiple factions of Razmirans. They do have that non-aggression pact with the Whispering Tyrant. I would not be surprised if there were some who were more sympathetic.
Yes, well, like I said, all answers are probably more accurately gained by going to talk to the people affected first.
Okay, so it sounds like you want to head toward the location called the Overlook. It is Greengold's town hall, prison, and morgue. So it sounds like that's where you want to be. I will move you to that general area. It's this large building in the northeast corner of the map here. And you'll be meeting with the commander, Commander Nuanduel, who I believe you met last week very briefly. Let me get his artwork.
Oh yes, our friend.
This was the
Okay.
this was the commander of the town guard. Yes, we are terribly busy here. Thank you for your help on the treaty, but what matters do you have here now?
Yeah, we're gonna need to
we
talk
would-
to Alzarius.
Why do you need to talk to Alzarius?
Well, to see about his side of the story, it seems the matter at the temple might be a little more complicated than we were first led to believe.
We want to know who's behind this and bring the criminals to justice. We do have this writ saying that we can interview people.
Oh,
Yes, we have been asked to investigate this also now.
that is quite different. May I see the writ?
And what she gave to him. I'm assuming it was something physical.
Yes. And he scans it really quickly, hands it back to you, and says, I'm sorry. Yes. How can I help?
Well,
I guess
if I can speak with the other parts of the Razmirian delegation while Dezi and whoever wants to go with Dezi talks to Alzarius, I would like to just cooperate his story, basically, with the rest.
Sure, yes. He calls over another one of the guards to lead you over to that portion of the complex. And
while we were here, did you or your guards see anything? Like where these people came from?
it's only been an hour. We had no complaints about them. We have just had the big festival, as you know, 2 nights ago, or last night. Most of our guards were providing security for that event and helping set up, and there is nothing unusual going on.
Okay, well, thank you.
And he does have, as I said, one of the guards lead you over to a set of cells in the basement. There appears to be Alzarius in a cell by himself, and there are 4 other cells containing two each. All of them have taken their masks off. They have not been taken from them, so it's not been confiscated, but they have taken their masks off and they're resting somewhere on a bench or on the bed. They look up as you walk in, and Alzarius immediately stands to greet you all. And is everyone okay? Was anyone killed by that?
I don't think so. Is he? You
I
know?
think we managed to keep everybody alive. I was doing my best. I mean, there's some injuries, but I think everyone will survive the day.
He wouldn't have the robe anymore. He's dressed much more simply now, but there is the picture of Alzarius, a blonde or brown-haired elf, or half-elf it looks like, with pleasant features, tall, now probably wearing more of a undershirt and kind of more casual attire rather than the fancy robes of office that he's taken off at the moment.
Quietly to Libbiel, I think you might be right. Figure out what's going on over there. We'll talk to those areas.
So what do you want to ask him while you're here?
So this is kind of trying to, so the other people don't hear it. If I don't know how big this jail cell is, but what's going on? It seemed like maybe you knew these people, or you thought you knew these people. Are they actually Razmirans?
Well, I couldn't recognize any of them. They all had masks on. Most of them were of the lowest step. That's the most common robes and masks. As you see, it hides basically all features. Sure, some are taller and shorter, and maybe I could guess their ancestry, but I do not know them. And even the leader, no defining features. Again, a relatively low rank by garb and mask. Not someone I would have interacted with.
Maybe you didn't recognize them specifically, but yeah, we talked about how Razmiran had the non-aggression pact. Is there groups of Razmirans that maybe wish to be closer to the Whispering Tyrant? Is there some sort of schism happening, or is this Razmir's intent?
Well, I cannot speak for what Razmir himself is thinking, but I was summoned by the visions. These are the most highest ranking members of the faith, and who do speak for Razmir directly. They all told me that this was Razmir's intent, was to broker this alliance as best as we can. The visions definitely seem to regret the presence of this non-aggression pact with the Whispering Tyrant. They would not say outright that they were ready to refute it, but I was hoping, with a strong showing here, that would be enough to convince whatever hold or misgivings they would have over breaking it.
So either a smaller faction, possibly, or maybe my friend Libbiel here was right in that someone wished for this to seem as Razmirans were disrupting the ceremony.
Yeah, do Razmirans normally take their masks off as freely as all those did?
As who did? All of us here in captivity, we have taken ours off as a show of submission, of not trying to rock the boat. We understand how bad it looks, and we would not normally want to take off our masks like this. It is just not done, but we
Oh,
need
I didn't realize he had this mask off.
all of the delegates that came with him have their masks off. None of the assassins did during the battle. So I'm
We
not
tried
sure
to
if you
capture
were.
one and then he cyanided himself. So
Oh,
it seems like
right. We don't
we
have
have no captured people that attacked us.
And so then it also sounds like if we were to somehow get Alzarius, and please confirm or correct me if this is off at all. So if you saw the faces of these attackers, you wouldn't recognize them because they don't normally have their masks off the way you all do right now. Is that right?
It is possible I might recognize someone, but it is more than likely than not that I wouldn't. If they came from Zaire, that was my home. That would make it more likely, but do you know where they came from?
We haven't gone to look at the corpses yet, but it seems like that might be a next step here.
I will be honest in that I do not know everyone from my religion. I don't think you would expect me to, but this does feel a little bit hard to know. I want to know what's going on here. I want to help you. I will offer whatever information I can that doesn't compromise the teachings of Razmir.
Well, we have more things to look into. We can always swing back and confirm some things if we have any questions.
You didn't notice anything suspicious, I'm assuming, during the fight, or anything that might tip you off.
The only thing I've heard was that many of them chose death over capture. That does not seem like the Razmiran way.
Yeah, I grabbed one at the very end, and he had some sort of poison he bit down on.
Razmir teaches, well, Razmir is the living god. Living is what matters, not how you die, not giving oneself for the mission. Finding a way to persevere and survive is a core teaching. I thank you for your trust and your help. What do you want to do next?
Libby comes back.
Lydia,
Well, I got
yeah.
statements from everybody if you want to like collab, look them over.
So yeah, the information
I
you would have
think
gotten would have been that Alzarius and his delegation, they arrived the day of, so they were not in Green Gold very long. Their the very first place they went was to the Vionin Estates where you were staying. They did not stay in town anywhere previously. They had arrived on a chartered boat by Razmir that dropped them off and left. There was no one else other than like the captain and two, let's say three sailors.
so. My thought line is we see if the guards will let us take one of the delegation. I don't think we can get Alzaria. Any one of the delegation come with us to check the bodies to make sure that they are authentically Rasmarian. If they
I don't.
are, we also should check around to see if anyone else has seen anyone from Rasmir at all. Just because these, it's clear that they came straight to the temple. They didn't stick around. So anyone who stuck around inside town was probably our assassins. And if we can find where they were staying, we can maybe find some clues about them and their identities.
I'm not sure that we would be able to know if they're off, or like anyone in particular would know if they're authentic.
That's why I was saying we take one of the delegation because
Oh,
I assume that they could look at the masks and other things and be like, yeah, this is a clear fake or whatever.
well, it
Well,
seems that the masks seem to be authentic, though from a lower rank, according to Alzarius. And Alzarius wasn't sure he'd be able to identify any of the people unless they literally came from his city.
Yeah,
So,
well,
I mean, maybe we take a look
they
first and then
also,
bring some back.
yeah, they also, all right, I could probably try to identify them, but I not from Rasmir, so
I'm curious, Desi, do you know maybe Libbiel, those faith barges they talked about? How many people are usually on them? From Razmir, that is. Do we think
is
that
that a
maybe they raided one and had a whole
society
handful of
check?
disguises?
I mean, I was wondering if they got disguises from somewhere. It could be from one of the faith barges, but also keep in mind they could have gotten them anywhere, right?
Yeah, if they're a low ranking, it doesn't seem too hard to come across, but we know there are faith barges all over the inner sea.
I can take a
So
Yeah.
yeah,
society check on that, or religion, I guess, for trying to know more about the complements of a faith barge.
Oh, darn it.
That's fine. Yeah, so you would know that the faith barges would tend to have maybe 1 to 3 masked individuals. All the rest tend to be civilians, not members of the clergy. They would not be sworn yet. They would not have the robes and the masks. So that
I'm
would
gonna
seem like an inefficient way to acquire the number of robes and masks that were on display here. And there probably would have been a little bit more variety. They probably would have had three
gathered
or
from
four
multiple
higher rank
places.
ones and 3 or 4 lower rank ones, and still all lower rank than Alzarius, not that far up. But there would have been more of a mix if they were grabbing some from various places like that.
I do like your idea, Libby, of having them check out the masks, though. Maybe we go take a look. It'd be much easier to bring one or two of the masks back here to check them for authenticity.
Check
yeah,
the
but I would
corpses.
if we could find one of them that isn't queasy about corpses, we can maybe find effects on them that might be identifying.
It could be even just something we missed in chaos.
That's
I'd
fair.
like to see how they got into town. Also, did they come in by boat? Were they on land? Like you
Oh,
said,
yes.
they
I
maybe
think
they came
looking at
right
them
here,
sort of.
but
Yeah.
Oh, well, the delegation came straight to the temple. These guys might have hung out in town for a while. That's what I was thinking. And if they didn't, maybe somebody's seen them. So I guess we need to decide roles. I can check around the city if you guys want to do the identifying the bodies, because I'm not so good at like dead people. I'm more about the living ones.
for sure. But don't cut yourself short. You know quite a bit. If anyone is going to determine possibly if these were imposters or such, I think you or Desi are the ones to do it.
and it might help to see some of the faces if you're going to ask if other people have seen them around town.
Let's
Okay.
check the corpses, and we'll look over them together, and then maybe we'll
I
split
guess
between searching
I
and
guess we will
talk.
split the party.
The guards now will lead you to the morgue, where there are a total of 16 bodies on some slabs each one under a thin sheet. You see all of the gear is piled in small piles by the back of the room. The commander Nuanduel explains that other than sorting out the belongings, nothing has been done here.
Okay.
There
So
are.
I have a question for Fane.
Go ahead.
Remember that thing I can get like the autobiography of people I look at, the biographical eye? I don't think it necessarily means they have to be alive.
I'm going to say it probably cannot be used here just because you're not seeing how they move, you're not seeing their habits. Their clothes has now all been taken off. You can't see kind of the Sherlock Holmes style of the boot was worn this way, that means this. It's kind of all been moved around a little bit. So
Okay,
I'm
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I posted the first bit. It seems like it's after a bit of a conversation or social interaction, which, minus a speak with dead might be a little hard with these people.
Mm,
and so
fair enough.
of the 16 bodies, it's 9 men, 7 women, 12 are human, 2 are orcs, 1 is half elf, 1 is a goblin. You superficially, without doing much investigation, they all show obvious new wounds and some older scars. Does look like people that you would have seen combat before. The body of a male
And
human has been set further aside, as that was the leader of the group, but no other defining features are obvious. Commander Nuendel does point out, if you need to conduct an autopsy, we do have mortician's tools, and he says you're welcome to use them if you need to.
it seems like knowing what that poison was be useful. It was in their mouth.
Well,
Maybe
I have
now?
no
Yeah.
idea what I'm doing with like a dead body, so that's
More
seems very
Vanarel.
medical.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
at
Dagon's
least
just
getting a
going to start
sample of the
searching them.
poison.
Just go
I
through,
was-
see if we can find anything on them.
Yeah, let's search their bodies
As I
first.
said, all of their gear is off in the corner, already
Yeah.
pre-sorted out. You can look
Anything
through
interesting that
all of
came out?
it. Let me pull that up. I don't have that right here. Give me 1 second to find that again.
Yep. Whether it's a roll or not, I think Dagron's going to go over to that. Let me search through this. Let's see if who knows? Maybe they've hidden something away, whether they're supposed to have it or not.
So
If I know anything about people, they don't like to follow the rules. Maybe someone kept something of note that might point us in the right direction.
So under the large piles of stuff, there were 15 +1 hand crossbows, 15 +1 striking rapiers, 15 suits of leather armor, 15 masks, 15 gray robes, big pile of bolts, and a number of vials of some kind of poison that you cannot instantly identify. You'd have to roll on that. And then on the other pile that the leader had, I will just identify all this for you. I would say the guards maybe have done this before you got there, so I'm not going to make you roll on these things. The poison you still would have to. That's more unusual. +2 striking staff of control greater, +2 resilient studded leather armor, a demon mask that appears as a mask of Razmir, and the black Razmiran robes. The guards
Huh.
also say that all of this gear is currently confiscated, but if the investigation is over, they may be able to release some or all of it to you.
I look at the group and be like, Spear is the religion that they all. It's not a demon cult, right?
It is not a demon cult. You do know that a demon mask, though, is a standard magic item to help with intimidation. So it would not
Oh, okay.
surprise you to have someone who has made their demon mask or made their Razmiri mask into a demon mask type of thing, if they are an intimidate focused caster, for instance.
I was going to ask about that because that seems sort of unusual. Like I guess I thought maybe the mask would be something very specific and very religious in and of itself. They wouldn't change it like that.
Your understanding, and this might all be rumors, and you don't even think Alzarius would confirm or deny these part of the rumors, but some of the higher rank ones may be approaching the level where he is or a little bit higher. Those masks may intrinsically be magic in their own way, and those would be unlikely to be comboed into other types of lower magic items. But for the lower of the clergy, you have heard of this before. It might not be completely accepted, but it's also not outlawed.
Okay.
Lydia,
Sounds
So,
like it could be
who wants?
useful.
But Daegron,
Hmm?
I can take a perception check for also more of your sorting through all of the gear.
Yeah, he's just feeling through, seeing if maybe there's any hidden pockets sewn into the robes,
And
anything like that.
yes, you do find a single key that was in the robe pocket that had been missed so far on the leader's robe. It is a pretty simple iron key that is attached to a leather fob stamped with a pattern that looks like a walkway between two hedgerows and the number 6.
Huh. What do you guys make of this? And he'll hold it up and hand it to Libbiel, since she's our lockpick. Maybe she can discern something from this.
I'm gonna look at it. First, I'm gonna see if it's magical.
There is no
I
magic
can.
aura on the key.
Okay, I was going to say I can kind of detect magic. So I'm
How about
going
the
to look at it in like a crafting sort of sense, I assume.
Sure, you can do that. What were you
Let's
saying,
know about
Dezi?
the symbology on it, like where that might come from or
Oh,
what that
why?
might indicate.
So on the crafting
I'm seeing.
check, nothing about it seems unusual. You can tell it's a it's a key to probably a rather simple lock, not the type of thing that you'd think would unlock a fancy secret chest or a high security location. Maybe only 3 tumblers, pretty large. You're pretty sure it'd be a very easy to pick lock.
Okay, so can I look at the symbol on it and try to make a determination of
De-
that?
Dezi has rolled on that, so I'm going to give Dezi that answer. It is a style that is used all throughout Green Gold here. You know, this is kind of the classic inn.
Yeah.
If you have rented a room, this is the type of key you often get.
This might be a room key somewhere around the city, basically. So if we could figure out where they were staying, we might have some luck with this.
Well, in
Let me
Dezi,
try something.
you rolled well enough that was actually a critical success for you. So you do know that it comes from an inn called the Hedgerow Holloway, located in central Green Gold. It is one of the largest inns. So maybe it's not surprising if you have a large group. That's maybe not surprising that's where they were at. That might have been your first guess, even if you couldn't identify it. But you can tell that's where it's a key toward.
Okay,
I think
so
we might have our
looks like
next
we
stop.
got our next destination. But before we do that, let's try to identify these poisons. I don't know my ears from my elbows about poisons. So anybody else got an idea?
I think that's a crafting check in character, so you might know yours from your elbows.
I thought it was going to be a medicine check. To be honest.
Poison would be crafting. It's included
Oh, okay.
under alchemy. If you wanted to see the effects of the poison, that would be medicine if on a body. But since you have some poisons to look at, that can be the crafting check.
Okay, I'll do the crafting then.
Well, Vanarel, you
Woof.
want to see about whatever's going on with them?
It is,
With the bodies?
Yeah.
I can, sure.
and so Libbiel, you can tell that the poison has been called fear flower nectar. It is the nectar of a night blooming desert flower, so you know it's not from around this area at all. That attacks the central nervous system and causes feelings of panic. It does minor damage, but increasing amounts of frightened as the poison works its way through your system. It is a fairly cheap poison. It's not particularly deadly, but it is a little bit unusual to see it in this area.
Do you know which region it's from or no? Just kind of.
Not local. Mainly the area south of the Inner Sea is where you think it usually comes from.
All right. Vanna, do you want to check the bodies?
Yeah, sure, I can.
So I can take a medicine
me.
check if you're doing an autopsy. It takes 2 hours per body that you want to autopsy.
Certainly, anyone who used the poison might knowing what poison they used on themselves would be useful too.
I'm not sure they use it on themselves, but
No, not that poison. That was presumably the poison they poisoned their weapons with. But they also, when we potentially took them
Oh.
alive, took some poisons.
right. I gotcha.
Do you want to work on that,
So-
and maybe we'll take a look over the bodies during those 2 hours, try to figure out where they're from, and if they might have any affiliations?
I can do that, sure. But while I'm, I guess, conducting the autopsy on one of these, I will share with everyone a thought that's been sort of, it stuck out when we spoke with Alzarius to me. He was very specific about what was it he said? The death over capture. that was something that was not at all the Razmiran way. Do we know about anyone in the area, anyone's culture that is that way?
I mean, I'm sure
I can give that a
Desi could
ponder.
list. Desi could list probably innumerable cults, evil cults that would have that. I'm guessing, but if you want to
I'm
try,
I can.
unfortunately whittling that down to the other 5 people we had in the room representing the other locations around Lake and Carthen.
Scoping it to
Ponder.
those, you don't think any of those have that. None of those surrounding nations have a death pact type of mentality that you're aware of. It's always possible they do
I,
have some intelligence agencies that you're not aware of, but you haven't heard rumors of them. That's not what they're known for.
Okay.
is there any wild notable cults in the area?
I guess one of the cults that comes to mind would be the Whispering Way. They are everywhere that the Whispering Tyrant is. You don't think they would trust that they would come back as undead if they died, but they probably wouldn't seek death. They'd probably still fight to the last and just know that coming back as undead is an option, or is, they will still serve in death as they did in life, but there's no reason to get there faster.
Okay.
Vanarel, by looking over the body, you can tell that the ones who took their own life appear to have died from something called death cap powder. This is a toxic mushroom that is dried, ground, and treated to form a flavorless powder with very fast death effects. However, they still seems like they may have died even faster than usual. You're used to death cap being deadly in order of minutes, and this felt like 30 seconds. But otherwise, the damage to some of the body that you're looking at, the way things died, it all feels about normal for that.
while that's going on, I'll take a look over the leader and see if I maybe can recognize any distinguishing features of where he's from or what religion he might practice, for example.
Sure, give me, I guess, what roll do you want to make for that?
Let's start with the religion check just to see, and I might
Sure.
do society afterwards to figure out that sort of thing.
Nothing about the body tells you a religion it came from. The leader has some scars, less than the other assassins. Does look like no stranger to combat, but not enough that you think he was a long-term gladiator or adventurer. Like, there's no obvious sign of religion on the person's body. Not that you really expect that. The average person you looked at, you could not tell their religion from their body. Maybe if it's a religion that had excessive amounts of kneeling or protestation, maybe you'd be able to see something. But most religions aren't that extreme that they're going to have a physical effect on the body.
I'll spend another. I want to let other people go, but I'd like to kind of try to figure out where they're from and just search the corpse as well.
They've all been fully searched. You're not going to find, without doing autopsies on
Okay.
other bodies, you're not going to find
Okay.
anything else on the corpses.
Then I'll just do the society check to try to figure out where they might come from. This I'm actually going to use a focus point to roll twice and take the better on.
Okay.
Assuming it's a recall knowledge roll.
Sure. The bulk of them, in general, they look like they are from the area around Lake and Carthen or the River Kingdoms.
I'm assuming this might take me 30, 40 minutes. I will spend the rest of the time actually refocusing and healing up people, basically, so other people can look at corpses.
Okay. Anything
Beyond
else
that,
from people here?
Daegron's good.
Libby twiddles her thumbs.
Okay,
Well, when
so
you're finished up, let's head to the inn. It's the
And
only
everyone will
solid lead
be-
we have.
Yeah.
Everyone will be capped off life-wise, I'm pretty sure, after the 2 hours.
you can heal yourselves to full. At this point, between enough times with various spells and focus point healing, everyone's topped off. So you make your way across the town. Let me move you to the new location. Kind of this large building encircled with some nice trees. It has some nice privacy from all the surrounding areas. It's a bustling inn. You see people coming and going. You're arriving here probably around 2 p.m., maybe closer to 3 p.m. at this point. So it's maybe a little bit of a quieter time for the inn. People are either out about doing their things, or they've already left for the day, or they haven't arrived. So it is a little bit of a quieter time. And as you enter the common room, you would see this halfling working the room, cleaning up the tables, busting some wooden bowls back to the kitchen, things of that nature. She looks up as you walk in and, "Oh, new guests. Can I help you?"
I really like her eyes. We're here on an investigation, I'm afraid. We have a room key. I was hoping we can find out who, you know, if we can get into that room.
Yeah, whoever was staying in room 6, did you hear what happened in the town? We're investigating.
Oh, attack on
What?
the temple? Oh, I didn't like them at all. Sure, you can go on up. Which key do you have?
I believe it's room
Daegron?
6.
Because they had
That's what it
4.
says.
I can open the other ones for you too, 5, 7, and 8 as well. I did not like the
That would
look of
be
them one
great.
bit, but still, money is money, and they paid, and they kept a low profile here. They didn't bother anyone.
Uh,
They maybe said a couple things about Razmir here and there, but we know to,
Were they positive things about Razmir or
oh,
negative,
yes,
like
all
angry?
hail the living god, praise Razmir, all the things we expect to hear.
Okay.
We've learned it's best just to ignore them. If you engage them in conversation, it feels like you never get out of it, and just leave them alone. They often leave you alone, at least here in our lands.
Yeah.
What made you
All
When
right.
dislike them?
While we go up, do you have any opinions on them?
They seemed a little haughty, but that's usual for visiting Resmirans. They they always quibble a little over the costs of things. Always feels like they are trying to cheat you some way or another. But they still paid in advance, and well, if they're not coming back, I guess I got a better deal than I expected out of them.
Yeah, I'm guessing they paid for a little bit more time than they used.
when did they get here? When did they?
They got here 2 days ago, and they paid for
Ooh.
3 days. So I was expecting them back tonight, and then out tomorrow.
So
Does
that
that
was
line
right
up
in the
with
middle
when
of
the other
of
ones,
our
or?
trip.
Started, so 2 days after the other delegation.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah, we'll check out the rooms.
she opens up the rooms, and you open up the one you have 4. Each of the 4 rooms are almost entirely free of personal effects, with only some extra robes and scraps of food left behind. Room 6 was a bit more interesting. It does seem to have a small makeshift altar to Razmir, another mask atop a stand surrounded by partially used but currently unlit candles, atop a crate covered with a black cloth. There's also a table in the room. It has a hand-drawn map of the Callistrian temple, with notes about where guards are stationed, and a circle around the council meeting chamber.
Desi will get out the sterile gloves and start investigating. I guess first, does that temple does the shrine look authentic?
I can take a religion check on that.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
It seems a little simpler than you would expect, knowing Razmir's taste for extravagance and impressive ideolatry. But at the same time, if a group is traveling quick and secretive, maybe this is appropriate. Maybe this is all they could put together. It's not definitive either way to you.
Well, Desi, let me know when the fine work is done, and I'll turn this room over. Might get a little messy.
I mean, I don't know how much we're going to discover without a good search. I think you can start searching. Just make sure you leave the maps and stuff that's clearly visible alone. I'll take a look over the map too.
So I can take perception checks that I just linked in Foundry for any of the searching the room that you're doing.
I'm focusing specifically on that shrine, just sort of taking it apart. See, never mind. I'm not seeing anything at all. Why? Why is
Yeah,
that when my rolls came up?
don't worry
And
about it.
open?
I trust people that if you roll publicly by accident and I tell you information right or wrong, you will still use it. I have
Yeah,
trust for all of you. I still prefer it to be what it's supposed to be, but I'm never going to make you re-roll or worry about it. So just don't worry about such things. So
Vanarel, don't break it.
yeah,
It's
so
I'm sorry.
Vanarel has snapped the mask there in half while
Oh,
trying to piece it apart, and maybe smeared some of the candles over the rest of the altar and such things. You think if there was anything to learn there, you actually don't think there was, but if there was, Vanarel has definitely made a mess of things.
Vanarel, corner now.
okay.
Don't break the corner, Vanarel.
Sorry.
Daegron,
I
however,
understand.
does find a piece of parchment that has fallen between the altar and the wall that might be getting a little bit of wax covering right now, but you got to it before any real damage was done. And let me get a copy of that handout for you.
It's so funny.
Yeah, as Vanarel is like knocking it over, he runs over to kind of like balance it, and he sees behind. Let's see.
Delvarnis, it is by Razmir's will that you and your group are to travel to Green Gold. Passage aboard the sunken sea cat has been arranged. Upon arriving, you are to locate and put an end to the secret council that threatens our partnership with the tyrant. Do not spare the faithful, for they are participating against Razmir's divine will. Make sure that Alzarius suffers greatly in his final moments. Do not return from this mission. The provided elixir shall help to ensure your spirits join with Razmir, for he will guide you to your eternal reward, peace and prosperity. Signed, Ventilax, Mask of Razmir.
Well,
Okay.
huh. I
Does
got some
that,
bad news for
name strike
Alzarius.
a chord for anyone? Ventilax?
Can I roll at that with some dice?
Sure.
If he's well known,
Society. Here's my
I feel like
society
any
roll.
cultist of Razmir is not well known, but we'll see.
The name Ventilax means the name Delvarnus, that was the name of apparently the lead of this head assassin, that does not ring any bells with either of you. The name Ventilax, you think you have heard that name before, maybe just in passing in the streets here, of being one of the kind of mid-rank priest from Zer, which is the closest Razmiran city. And it's also the city that Alzarius was stationed at prior to his posting here.
Yeah, probably worth
Okay.
asking him about it too, huh?
Yes,
Yes.
I mean, he's the only one who's going to know, I think, more. He seems trustworthy, so hopefully he can tell us, but let's keep looking around in here. Maybe there's something more.
Searching the other room certainly seems like a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can.
The other rooms, I'm going to
Maybe-
use some of your existing
yeah.
perception checks on. Nothing there. It seems like all of the rank and file people almost feels like they were mind controlled or zealots at the highest level. They do not have any extra identification items with them. They brought no personal items. It's a little eerie as far as you can tell.
What was the name of that
That
ship
was really-
again?
The Drunken Sea Cat.
Sunken
Sorry,
cat.
Sunken Sea Cat, yes. Not the Drunken. That's its sibling vessel.
That's the one that sunk. The sunken sea cat isn't sunk.
Yes.
I'm very confused now.
Yeah, but
All
it
right.
is drunk.
Should we go back to Alzarius first and then see if we can find where that ship came in, maybe?
I think that's
Okay,
a good as place as any.
Yeah, seeing what Alzarius has to say about this note would be interesting, to say the least.
Okay, I will move you back over to the Overlook. You probably spent about an hour and a half, so it's probably getting close to 5 p.m. at this point. And you are back. You're shown back to Alzarius, and what do you ask him about?
Hey, Alzarius, you know a guy named Ventilax?
Yes, we are roughly at the same progression through the steps of Razmir. What about him is relevant at this time?
Or maybe you a little
Um,
higher than him?
I do not know what step he is currently at. I had gotten one step ahead of him, not that I was competing in any way.
I don't think you got a step ahead of him.
Why do you
think
Well,
say
it-
that?
Let's show him the note.
Sure.
It's
What do you
just-
make
yeah.
of this?
Rip the
Hmm.
bandage off.
Interesting. You see he's like counting something. You can't see what he's counting, and he's looking at the note. This
Is
note,
it an encode?
this note is missing certain signs. This was written with a previous. This is a 2-month-old cipher here.
Oh,
This would not be authentic, but it would appear authentic to almost anyone. Most disturbing.
So is there something in this note that we're not seeing? Is it a hidden code like that?
I
we
know
shouldn't rush for him.
it may make me look bad, but this is one of the topics I must remain more cautious of. Just as everyone may have their own secrets, we do have codes that shift on a monthly basis to what's the best example I can give you? Basically a word or a series of letters or a capitalization pattern or punctuation missing or not missing that is used to ensure that the current sender is still in favor of the rest of the priesthood. This one
A
was written
stamp of authenticity or something that shows that it came from the current clergy.
Yes, it cannot be used to communicate anything other than effectively providence of that it was written at the this was either written before I was sent here, which does not seem plausible to me, or by someone who no longer had the backing of the church.
And you think maybe this guy, Libby's showing her awfulness with names, V something, he might have been excommunicated and just had an older cipher from that?
I had not heard such things. We were both still. He was still in Zer when I left.
But it could have been sent by somebody else, impersonating him potentially.
That's
Um,
definitely possible.
It seems like someone wanted you to suffer if you didn't have
Do
any
you
major
have
fout with him.
enemy?
There's always competition and rivalry, but
I think it might be the case of this other guy was maybe additionally framed for this.
that
I
would
think you
be
might be
my
right.
assumption at present. We did not get along. He,
The issue is we only have your word for that, and
yes.
unless you want to submit to a zone of truth, which would probably not be a good idea.
Oh, I am willing to. If you need such spells to vouch on my behalf to others, I will willingly subject myself to
Well,
such spells.
I thought maybe you wouldn't want to do it because we can then ask you about your secrets that you know don't want to go into.
And I understand, but if that's what it takes, I would hope you wouldn't ask me such things and stick to the topics that need to be proved. But if that is
I
what's
think I
needed,
wouldn't personally. I don't need that information. Just kind of a sworn sort of situation where what you say about the note and the situation could be taken as the facts that you know it kind of situation. The issue would be finding someone who can cast such a spell.
Well, maybe we focus on the rest of this first. I mean, it certainly seems like I don't know what that would prove. Just because it was sent by somebody he like no longer in favor or using an old cipher still doesn't rule out that it came
When
over here.
we can prove that it's an old cipher, which means it could be used as proof that it wasn't anyone who was currently in favor, which
I
would
guess that's
mean
true.
not the current clergy, therefore their current government. Yes.
But
Or more specifically, not Elzarius and not any part of the Razmiran delegates.
well, this likely proves, well, doesn't prove it. This could be a fake too, but it indicates Alzarius is innocent by itself. But do you know this Delvarnus at all or no?
Delvarnus, no. I cannot say I recognize that name.
Okay, so things we need to look into. Who has the motivation to do this, and who has the knowledge of the cipher has that motivation. So it's probably someone who, at least at a time, was involved with this. Yes?
Or someone who could get that information from one of them?
Yes, I mean, just as you said, zone of truth. There must be other ways to extract that information. I don't think it would be easy, but maybe that we have someone else trying to pit us against Razmir.
Ring of truth. But yes, I think this is all very complex way of trying to prevent the treaty, or at the very least, prevent Razmirian's part of the treaty.
And I think we need more evidence. It wouldn't hurt to head to the docks quickly before things kind of
I
shut
wonder
down for the day.
if that ship is still in port.
Yes. Get ready for a battle. It might have guards.
So you're heading over to the harbor?
Well, do we want to speak to the guards before we leave and ask them to come with us? In terms of at least just being authenticity for being able to board and search it.
Yes. I think at least having someone
I think
along
a
with
guard
us.
escort to come with us might make sense.
Commander
Don't have
Noel
to add.
will detach someone to
I don't
escort
think.
you.
Yeah, we don't expect him to
I
do
don't think there
anything, but
needs to
just
be.
be authority.
Yep. So you've arrived. As you arrive at the harbor, you meet the harbor master first, who points out a smaller barge type thing. It's not a faith barge, and I just to make sure I'm not misinterpreting it that way. It just barges are very common here on the lake. Docked over on this pier here, a little bit further west from where you are, and says it arrived 2 days ago, scheduled to leave tomorrow.
Okay.
Commonly
Well,
sails
they're
all
not
among
leaving.
commonly sails all of the nations here. Most commonly, it does the Razmir to Keonan to Druma to Melthun and back. It does not dock to my knowledge with Nirmathos. It does not risk going by the Gravelands or Ustalav.
Yeah, let's investigate. Keep in mind that just because they provided transportation doesn't mean they're cooperating with this whole thing.
That's true. And I was not going to approach it like that.
And when you get close, the captain of the boat, a Heliana Iron Eye. Oh, what's all this? Adventurers? Oh, there's a guard. Maybe you're okay then. What do you want with me?
Yeah, we're gonna need to search your ship. Seems you brought in some people who might have caused some trouble in town.
At the very least, the parts of the ship that they were allowed to be in. I don't think we need to go down any further than that.
What sort of problem? I had a group of 3 and a group of 13.
I think the group of 13 just tried to assassinate a lot of delegations.
Oh,
The group that was wearing a bunch of masks, perhaps.
no one was wearing masks on this boat. They all looked like pilgrims or refugees, people trying to find a new home. They said they were giving up on life over at Zaire. They wanted a place that was more open to freedom and less exploitive.
Well,
Did you
they all
catch any
put on
names
that.
of anybody?
Just,
Anybody leading them or no?
yeah, taller man named Delvarnis. He was the only one who ever
Mhm.
spoke, paid in advance. Didn't say he wanted a return trip, which I guess made sense given that they didn't want to go back there. Of course, I'm planning to head back tomorrow. It would have been great to have some paying customers.
Yeah, that's the right group then. That's the name we have. We're gonna need to take a look at where they stayed and had access to. We won't disrupt things as much as we can. Hopefully, get out of your hair quickly.
However, I would like to talk a little bit more with you while they maybe look at everything. See their general disposition, maybe how the others behaved.
As
The others seemed like they might have been mind control or something.
I'm happy to talk with you all. I just want to make sure I can keep watching what you're doing on my ship. I understand that you're searching. I see the guard here as well, but ships
Oh,
are
we can
ships
go
are
down
complicated
together.
things. I don't want any injuries to the boat by accident. I'm not saying you do it on purpose, but I do want to be watching what you're doing. And
We can go down together. It's
I
not
mean,
like we can't
Vanarel's a
talk
very good
anywhere.
sailor. He's even died at sea, so he knows what he's doing now.
That
doesn't seem to
really-
make you a good sailor. She looks at you
Let's
very nervously.
Let's call it just experience. I do know my way around a ship, and I know what not to poke my nose into when it's not my business, Captain.
And as you're starting to search the ship, one of the crew, a small goblin, is following you around everywhere you go, watching you, chuckling at you as you have to duck below masts and booms and all the crates on board that he just fits through easily. He seems to get a chuckle out of seeing how much trouble the tall folk have on dealing with the ship.
Shoe.
No,
What,
hold
is
on.
that a shoe?
No,
Is that a shoe you got there?
it's a boot, not a shoe, you silly tall person. You're
I'm only a
tall.
little taller than
Who
you.
is that?
And Heliana's like, why do you still have that boot? I told you to get rid of all of those.
What's with the boot?
Where's it from?
If you don't mind me
Oh.
asking.
It was from our most recent passengers. They all had boots like this. They smell horrible, but I thought it was cool, so I kept one. All the others were thrown
Yeah,
overboard.
Smell horrible.
That is awesome.
You
We
mean-
could use that as evidence.
Smell horrible like the undead, perhaps?
I could sell it to you if you want it for 10 gold.
How about we give you an amethyst finger instead?
Ooh, yes, sure, yes. Fingers sound awesome, and it's made of a cool shiny rock.
You still have that?
You would not believe the stuff I have in my backpack. Yeah,
I
I'll
would not believe it.
trade
Yes,
an
he-
amethyst finger for a stinky boot.
He hands you the stinky boot, and you've lost an amethyst finger.
A good trade. But Daegron will turn to him and go, "Oh, you following us around? The other ones who were here, who left these boots? Did you follow them around?"
Yes. Well, once they got rid of their stinky boots, it was more fun to follow them around. Of course, I kept a stinky boot, so maybe that doesn't make sense. Anyways, yes, I followed them. They were boring. They just sat around watching the water go. They didn't
Anything
stumble.
fun? Maybe you snuck in and managed to see anything they were hiding.
No, they were boring. I like passengers who don't know how to deal with the waves or who get seasick. That's so much more fun. These were just boring.
Sea legs and no sickness, That's not common in a group this big.
I didn't think so, but the captain thought nothing of it.
Mind if I take a look at that stinky boot?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'll-
try to determine.
Yes. Yeah, I'll do the same.
Yeah, I'm talking to him while you guys can check out this stinky boot.
Yeah, I can take. How much are you? What approach are you taking to investigating a stinky boot?
I
I
figure
want to
this.
see, like, go ahead.
I figure we'll start out by figuring maybe the what style the boot is in. Then we might do a smell test after that.
Yeah, I kind of want to see, like, what kind of story this boot can tell me. Like, obviously, it looks like it's been in a bog. I'm gonna see if I can, you know, Sherlock Holmes at this. So is that
Sure.
what kind of role
I
is that?
So I can take. I think you'd learn different things with society, nature, and crafting. You can each give me one of those that you're trying to focus on.
I
You
am
wanna
really
do
good at society.
Yeah, I'll take the nature.
Yeah, I can do a crafting after if you'd like me to. I don't have amazing, but I've got something in it.
So with the society check, it's a fairly cheap, unremarkable boot, the type of thing that almost any store would be offering. It's kind of the lowest level of quality that is still counts as a boot. You would think every store would sell them. If they were trying to get large numbers of boots that all matched, this is the best type of thing to go with. The wear on it does not look excessive, looks relatively new.
New and still stinky.
Vanarel, you did find a small crushed blue flower caked in the mud into the boot's tread, but you can't tell what it's from. And the smell is definitely swamp or bog or sewer or definitely waste of some variety. But yeah, it's not pleasant.
The stink is from the outside of the boot, not what was on the inside.
Correct.
Okay.
Did I get
Oh,
anything from that?
Oh, I missed your roll. Sorry there. Yes, you do know that is a water hyacinth flower. It's a plant that very commonly grows along the edges of rivers and waterways. Less common among bogs or swamps. And Daegron's crafting check, the smell is just too much. You're having a hard time focusing. You're barely holding in nausea from looking at this boot.
Well, I will deposit it into
Told you
the
not to
evidence
start with a
sack.
sniff test, Daegron. Save that for the end.
So
Oh,
we know
well,
it came from a
someone had to.
waterway, but we're not quite sure on the whole what was in the bottom there.
So, what kind of things can you tell us about your passengers, Captain?
They were
Besides,
quiet.
like,
They paid in advance. They didn't cause any trouble.
anything notable about where you picked them?
Picked them up from Zare, as mentioned, and they wanted to come here. They said they were scouting for new merchant opportunities. But once we were out of Razmiran waters, their story changed to fleeing the oppressive regime.
Do you mind giving a statement to the guard? I know you have to go tomorrow, but this seems to not agree with what we know of them.
I can give a statement, and she says exactly the same thing to the guard. He listens, records it on scroll of some kind, and
And take a look around. I mean, kind of search their quarters. So
yeah, it's a very small, modest wooden structure open on one side facing the center of the barge. It's nothing fancy. It's basically a glorified lean-to. This is not, you're not traveling in luxury on aboard this barge, but it is cheap, and there's no sign that they've left anything behind here.
fair enough.
All right. Well, we're going to leave your well-kept boat and perhaps let you get on about your day, I think.
Thank you. We will be heading out tomorrow unless there's a reason why we can't.
I have no reason to keep you, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
okay.
Unless you really want to go to Zur, which who knows where this will lead us, but I don't have any plans of it.
So it's getting into the evening hours, and you know that the guards are probably going to be less amenable to escorting you around. Some of them are still working, but there's fewer staff, and more of them are needing to do their usual activities. So unless you have something that you think is time critical, they suggest that you come back tomorrow for other steps of your investigation.
That makes sense. And we probably want to report in with what we found in terms of the boot and the story that they gave for leaving Razmir and the fact they weren't wearing masks or didn't seem to have masks on the boat.
Honestly, basically everything we want to go report in, because I assume that they would want to know, like, the full up-to-date investigation as we go.
Okay, so you're heading back to the manor, that's what I'm hearing, to check in with Dalamian. So let me move you over there.
Nose goes to report. She puts her finger on her nose.
So, as you come back in, Dalamian will invite you all to a more civilized meal than you may have had earlier today. She seems to have calmed down appreciably from how she was this afternoon, almost in tears and frantic about the problems with the treaty. While you were away, I have reported to the Queen, and her reply came swiftly. She has given me, and through me passed on to you, full authority to pursue this matter until you find the truth and bring those responsible to justice. I have spoken with the surviving delegates and convinced them all to stay in town for a while. I hope not too long, to try to get to the bottom of this and determine the right course of action. Walder and Clavans both balked a little bit, but after I promised to expedite Walder's communications with his homeland and to provide Clavans with more wines, they've agreed that it makes sense to stay here until we know what is happening. And what have you discovered?
I mean, we'll go through everything, basically. I don't know. We have to repeat, but all the information we have, I think, is the idea, right?
Well, we can
Yeah.
recap even for ourselves here. They came in separately from the other Razmirans.
They checked
We
in
know
at a
that-
hotel
yeah.
known for
Which
bulk.
one was that
Um,
again? I'm just trying to remember the name of it so I
the-
can write down from my own notes.
Hedgerow Hall.
We found this
So
note
the
in their
hedgerow-
room.
We found the
And-
note in their room that seems to point to, if you took it on face value, that there's something Razmiran was trying to get that maybe the delegate here didn't know. Personally, I believe Alzarius can be trusted. He seemed authentic to me. I wouldn't
Alzarius
want
did
to.
indicate
Yeah, he indicated that it wouldn't. It seemed this was an old missive, maybe a couple months. Was it, Dezi?
not that
It's
the
either
missive was old.
old or the identification cipher that they were using was much out of date, ousting them as either an exile of their religion or, someone who had a much bigger plan for the future and knew about this delegation ahead of time, which seems way more unlikely.
May I see the note?
One of these explanations, yes.
Sure.
She looks over it and passes it back and says, "Yes," with a little bit of a smile. "I agree with Alzarius's assessment of an out-of-date cipher."
Okay, now I am officially scared. I like you more.
Don't ask how we have knowledge of such things.
I will not.
We've got
I do
plausible
not
deniability.
want
We
to-
went to him himself.
Yes.
I am very glad of
Alzarius
that,
is the-
she says, continuing her
Um,
smile.
So yes,
Well-
one of these explanations is easier than the other, so let's go with that one.
We also investigated
from there.
the docks, which the person on the ship, the soldier that was with us, took a testimony from him. But basically, she indicated that they didn't seem to be followers of Razmir and said they were fleeing persecution there, but did confirm that Delvarnis was the name of the person on the ship. And only 13 of them, which seemed a little suspicious, given, I think, 20-something attacked, correct?
16.
16, 13, and 3.
Yes.
Right.
That would add up.
So another thing people have kept mentioning is that the members that were not leaders seem to behave like they just weren't people or something.
We have no information more about that, do we, though?
No, not really. They weren't undead. At least they were not undead enough where people noticed. So
We may
what
need to
that
do
could
that
have meant,
autopsy.
Who knows?
What I'm about to show you might be a little disturbing, but they also had this. It'll flood the boot.
She does reel back a little and covers her nose.
Yeah, well, we
Why
know
do
that
we need to clean that?
one of them
So
was
bad,
wearing it. Well, no, the smell is what's important here.
All of them were wearing it. This is just the last
Yes.
one that.
But there's the water or the lily
Libby's
on the
just like-
base came from some sort of river. We couldn't quite identify the smell though.
That
Sewers or fog.
that smells
Grossness.
more like a sewer to me than anything else. And
No, really.
and the water hyacinth, those tend to only grow in relatively fresh water.
Where do your sewers exit here?
We magically treat most of our
Well, I don't
sewage.
think it's from here. I don't
Oh,
think it's
okay.
from here.
We might be heading to
It's
Zur after
from
all.
Zer is the one where they were wearing these boots.
That's where they came from.
She
Yeah, you
she,
might
she
be right.
nods.
Uh,
I see only one course of action. We need you to travel to Zaire, locate who sent these assassins, and bring them back to justice. While that order is paramount, the Queen would like to avoid provocation or escalation in this matter. So do not, yes, be discreet and do not inflame tensions with the clergy. We can provide you with some money to pay for your passage to and from and your lodging while there. And I am not sure. This is most unusual, but I I think we can arrange that. We will have to probably work with the guards and maybe get an illusion going. Hopefully he does not try to escape. That would definitely cause problems. I am
if he tries
distrust.
to escape, that becomes our problem, right,
Yes,
Vanna?
I trust he wants to clear his name enough to stay with us, but we will keep a close eye on him too, just in case.
I
We'll make it known if he flees. This just puts it on Razmir, and from talking to him, that doesn't seem like what he wants.
I have a very hard time trusting those of Razmir, but we want this alliance to succeed. You trust him. I will take this chance. I will write another note for the guards to release him. I believe he will need to at least be disguised and non-obviously a Razmiran priest, at least as he leaves the city.
You have some scrolls in this town. Certainly, we can find some magic that either Libby or I can take care of. I'd imagine.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if nothing else, the world knows him as a Razmiran. We can convince him to leave his garments off. No one will know who he is.
That sounds like a plan to me. Is there anything else you would like to do before we retire for the evening and you get on your way to Zaire in the morning? Or do you need more time to investigate here?
If we can take a minute before we leave to do one more autopsy, the rank and file of his like assassin corps, see what maybe is going on with them, then leave. I think.
Sure. So you're going to head back over probably after dinner. It's probably closer to 7 or 8 p.m. at night here. And the guards, they do seem a little put upon to have to deal with after hours work, but they understand it's important. It is a investigation going on. It does seem like they think the Queen, Dalamian, and you all are making more work than there has to be. They were assassins. They came from Razmir. They seem to want to accept the easy answer, but the writ does have enough authority that they do show you down to the morgue again, and you can do another autopsy if you want. It takes another 2 hours. If multiple people want to do different autopsies, you can do that. If you have multiple people who want to roll the medicine checks, but if you only have the one, that's also fine. I'm just saying you can parallelize these if you want to.
I think
And
Dezi's going to spend some time in town, kind of asking around, if anybody saw, particularly Varnus, and if he started talking at all.
okay,
Otherwise, I don't have medicine, so
Because
so I can take a
I'm
society
way
check
less
around town
useful about.
or a diplomacy around town.
Give me just a second.
I'll make the
I
medicine
have
check,
to-
but well, I also feel like I'm laying Libby lead here because I'm not 100% certain what we're searching for this second time.
the only thing is
we only did the
yeah,
autopsy later, right?
we did an autopsy, and
We do not
we didn't
know it was-
autopsy the little ones, I should say.
Yeah, we don't know why they were behaving like automatons, basically.
Yeah.
If we can
Vanarel,
find out if there's a medical reason.
you find nothing different, nothing unusual about the body. It looks like it died of its wounds as normal. No sign of poison on this one. Dezi asking around town a little bit. It does seem like when you're asking about Dilvarnis, no one really caught the name. It looks like the name was not being spread around, but when you describe the face, you can find a couple people who you can tell saw him wandering through the main plaza many times a day in the days leading up to this event.
So likely scoping out potentially the place and going back and forth a bit, or supplying. Maybe.
Yes. Maybe a little bit of time even looked like some carefully walking, maybe pacing off time and distance type of things. Most people you talk to weren't that observant, but they did recall seeing him multiple times, which was a little unusual.
Okay.
Can
I
I
mean, I want to make
track him
sure.
throughout the city, talking to the locals to see what paths he took?
I can take a diplomacy or society check on that.
So I, as the city, might help with this as well.
Sure.
I'm going to roll society for that. There you go.
Yeah. Not much more than what Dezi had already discovered. It does look like he was, as far as you can tell, casing the joint, finding time and distance to get from the inn to the temple. As you see, there's only really two main bridges to get to, from where they were to there, and finding which one was fastest with less traffic and easier access. It does seem like he was standing there watching the guard change a couple times to figure out when the easiest time to get into the temple was. Did not seem to interact with
Can I
any
add in
shops or
the
stores.
stipulation that? Can I add in the stipulation that I'll also paying attention to who was with him, if there was anybody?
Apparently, it seems like he was by himself when he was doing this observation.
So none of his assassin group came with him to do any of the scouting. That's interesting. Sorry, I'm really hung up on the rest of the party because it's like,
I didn't get
What-
the impression. I don't
what
know. I
are
didn't.
they?
I don't know where you got the whole. I didn't notice them talking about them acting like automatons. Maybe I missed it. So
oh,
Not so much
they didn't use the
automatons.
word automaton.
Yeah.
They just don't act like people.
It was strange. It could just be that they are
okay.
seafaring.
They have
crew.
no
they
effect.
had no reaction to the water, which is
They all
right.
just
crazy,
Okay,
but
yeah.
stared out. They all stared off the boat just like blankly.
enough.
They didn't talk to anybody. None of them were social at all. It's just really odd, their behavior.
Yeah, Desi doesn't want to be out super late either, so they're gonna make sure they get
No.
it because I'm assuming we're leaving tomorrow. So we want this. We want to investigate
Yeah.
this.
with that was the only check I wanted, just to make sure that they weren't undead servants of some sort or something along those lines.
Yes.
Uh,
While Vanarel didn't learn anything too much from the second autopsy, he can confirm they were living creatures.
Yep.
So you can retire for the night. The party has been investigating all of the actions of the band of assassins that arrived and disrupted the signing of the treaty. They have discovered that all signs point to the assassins having arrived here in the middle of the treaty signing from the nearby Razmirin town of Han. A couple of names: Delvarnis as the leader of the band here, and Zintalax as the person who sent a message. The message seemed authentic in many ways and suggested that Alzarius was no longer in the best graces of Razmir, but the other bits of the letter did show that it was written with an outdated cipher behind the scenes that suggested it is someone who should not be speaking with such authority. They do not speak on behalf of Razmir. So there is definitely layers here of who is misdirecting whom is not entirely sure. The party has checked in with Dalamian and has been tasked with investigating this more fully in Zaire, while trying to keep a low profile and avoid complicating the treaty situation. They have also gotten permission to bring Alzarius with them if they wish, and hoping that they are putting their trust in the right person. And that is where we will pick back up.
Okay, well, I would like to. Let's go fetch. Desi's probably up early packing, very excited for the ability to travel somewhere else. I do think we should probably bring Alzarius with us, huh? He does know the
Oh.
city.
yeah, I
For
would
sure.
like to.
Okay, we'll go get him. Is anyone good at doing disguises?
I mean, if worst comes to worst, really, but like,
I think having him not look like himself is probably a little bit of a good idea.
I can change the mask to look like something else.
We could always try to convince him just to leave his raiments off.
So you
When other
Talk with him and see what he
people know who he
has to
is.
bring
Yeah, I
for
guess we
this.
can ask.
Yeah, so you talk to the guards, you present this secondary writ that Dalamian has written out for this. They seem a little surprised, but once again, they will defer to Dalamian, and they they bring Alzarius out from his cell to a different room on the first floor for this discussion. It felt like they wanted to make sure if you decide not to do this or whatever else, that the other delegates don't know what's going on here. So Alzarius is led into this room with you all. He is still not wearing his mask or robe. And has something changed? What is the situation now?
Well, we're gonna
Well,
head, yeah, out to. Sorry, what's the city's name?
Sir.
Zerg.
there.
We'd like you to accompany us if you're willing to promise on your faith that you will stay with us and be willing to return for trial here later.
Of course. We need to find what happened here. This treaty is in the best interest of Razmir, and that is what I was sent here to do. We must find who is undermining this.
Sense motive, just or
Yeah,
motive.
that he is being sincere, as far as you can tell.
Do you think people would recognize you in the city with or without your mask?
No, without my mask or robe, I don't think people would know who I am, and I would not want to bring them.
Well, let's more properly, yeah, let's more properly explain the situation. We need to get you out to the boats without anyone in the city thinking that you're Alzarius. Is that a possibility that you can bring to the table, or do we have to come up with something a little different?
Well, till I came to the jail here, aside from the one time I showed you all my face at the negotiation, no one in the city would have seen my face. They would just have seen the robes and the mask. But,
Okay. Do you have a changed clothes?
yes. Well, the guards here gave me this fairly rough spun but serviceable gear. That might look a little too suspicious, though.
I'm sure we can
Do
find some basic clothes
how
for
do you
you.
how do you feel about a fancy dress?
That would seem to draw attention, I would think. I'd rather try to pass
I think you
as
could rock it.
boring as possible.
I mean,
Well, thank you, but that might be too much like my normal robes, there, which are a little ostentatious.
Why don't you give me a minute? I'll
Oh,
run
okay.
down and pick some things up. You keep talking with him, fill him in on the plan. I'll grab some traveling clothes for all of us,
we won't do
roughly.
the
Yeah, I'll pull out my regular
Let's-
set of clothes and change out of my fancy clothes that we were doing.
up to
The-
about where we're at.
Let me tell you some about Zer, if that is where we are headed. It is a city divided in two. The inner city is for the faithful and the true believers. It is clean, it is pristine, it is luxury. And then there is the region outside, for those who have not yet seen the glory of Razmir. I think you would typically call it slums any other place. If there is a plot against me, I do not know who I can trust. And for you, I would suggest avoiding as much contact with the faith as possible, at least until the truth of this conspiracy is made clear. A good cover. You are merchants, seeking to find new trade talks with the city. You'll be meted at the docks by some clergy, and this story should work. They hear it all the time. It is very common. They will expect you to complain, but eventually pay. If you object too long or pay immediately, it probably would be a little bit suspicious. So, object a little and then acquiesce.
Okay, I think we can
Okay.
do that. I guess.
There's not much adventurers out that direction. We can't just go with the usual cover story. That is just the truth.
Oh, they would charge adventurers much, much more, and they would pay attention and watch you.
Okay, I'm going to need you to hide for a minute. I bet Giant B will give me away.
There's always some merchants who have interesting pets, but the writing on Bia, that might be a harder thing to explain away. Anyone else have something they want to ask Alzarius?
I have one last question. So we get there and we start investigating. Is there any taboos we should know to avoid?
Do not blaspheme against Razmir. Probably avoid challenging his faith with people in the streets. Even among the non-believers who might not like Razmir, they will not hesitate to inform on others.
Who are the movers and the shakers in the city, as
That's-
they say?
Within the town proper, the High Priest of Zaire is a priest by the name of Irini. Other than that, most of the people would not be known by name, but simply by their mask and by their step. In some ways, it is a faceless interaction
Okay.
between the slums and the inner city.
So, what do you think about this boot? Show him the boot. Des.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll pull out the stinky boot.
I mean, it sounds like we might
This,
heading into a
sorry.
sewer.
It
this
is
came
a
off of one of the people that attacked us when they were on the ship.
it is a very stinky boot. It looks like the type we would issue newer priests or newer members of the clergy or
Mm.
aspiring actually more the aspiring members, those who have not yet taken vows but have begun some amount of service.
Do not take this the wrong way, but just to make sure, because I've been running into something that I have been thinking is kind of weird. All these assassins, aside from the leader, have acted kind of like they don't have their own independence. One of the first steps isn't brainwashing, is it?
No.
I don't think so,
No.
and I had no reason to think so, but I just want to check.
There are some outsiders who say especially the early steps and maybe the topmost steps have a little bit of a fixation on material wealth, and that can sometimes come across as a form of brainwashing to people, but it never removes them of their free will.
Not a complete depersonhood? Okay.
No. Individuality is still important.
I did not think as much, but I was, I got a lot of check marks here, and that's just one I can ask you.
Are relations between the lower city and the town proper and the the place where the worshippers live generally good?
I wouldn't say that they are good. Of the taxes and the fees and a granting of slightly more services to the less privileged, under the idea that it will be more easy to recruit those who are happier. But that
One last,
go ahead.
I was going to say one last, just to make sure we're prepared for it. All these people seemed to have been priests, at least at one point. Do we have a plan for how we could get into the more inner city? Because I don't think any of us have much incentive to convert quite yet.
I did not
She
think you
looks at the
did.
rest of the party.
I hope we can solve whatever this mystery is in the lower city, or at least identify names. If we can unmask, no pun intended, the conspiracy here, and I could feel safe going to a higher up, that may be an option. I
Well,
Okay.
don't see a good way to get us into the inner city and maintain our cover.
we think we know how they maintained theirs. We think that maybe they traveled through the sewers. These boots reek and they ditched them on purpose. Maybe that is where this is happening. If this clergy may be one who was on his way out or someone who has broken their codes, is set up in the slum sewers, they could be recruiting people who think they are doing Razmir's will.
That
I swear,
sounds very possible. The unconverted would be easy to mislead on such things, I fear.
we end up in the sewers because of this. I'm going to light the entire set of this assassins on fire.
I'm sure we won't wind up in the sewers.
We're going to the sewers. Just a heads up. Prepare yourself.
He looks at the staff of fire meaningfully. Yes.
So
Fire.
Daegron has returned with some extra garb. Alzarius takes a moment to get changed. Definitely looks much more like a everyday commoner dock worker. Doesn't even carry himself quite the same authority. He does not acting completely, but you can lose some of the authority of a high-ranking priest and to look more like a average person. And what do you want to do?
I mean, let's get him to the docks, get on a ship, and head out of here. That's our plan, right?
Okay.
We have a good sailor, so we're
Yeah.
good.
Well, we know we know a
let's
ship that's going
stop.
back.
Let's stop by and see if we can get that equipment from the guy, perhaps.
Which
The
I
assassin's
don't-
equipment.
There's an
Uh,
ongoing investigation. I think it's when it's solved. I assume.
yes, I believe it is when you have solved it, you can get all of that extra gear.
Let's loot for the next level. Or
So you come to the docks. Do you want to try to use the Sunken Sea Cat, or are you looking for a different vessel? You do know the Sunken Sea Cat was heading back this morning.
Let's see if we can get something to see. Everyone else seem fine with that?
If they're willing, I mean, they're just gonna journey out, right? We don't want them knowing who we are. I guess
Yeah.
everyone in town. That's fine.
Okay.
The only concern
I'm
is
going
they
to-
do know us, but like you said, Dezi, I don't think many captains we'd hire would have zero inkling of who we are.
I'm going to put my hat away and put Thea, somewhere safe. I don't have it right now.
As we have established, sea journeys are not safe, so Nat Quick will live in my
I do
arm
have
for
it
most of this trip.
I do have the familiar box. That was part of the dress, the familiar satchel. So this is like a fancy purse that she's been holding Bia in. She's kind of like Bia in that.
Okay. Helena Iron Eye will charge you all 2 gold piece for the passage to Zaire. That comes out of the pouch that Dalamian gave you, so you don't need to worry about that on your character sheets. She says, we are heading out. We will arrive just before evening. All aboard.
Let's do some dirtying up of our gear. What's our story? We're going with the merchants.
Well, we're merchants. I don't think we need to dirty our gear that much.
Well, I will. I don't think I'm going to pass as a merchant. I'm sorry, but you would need protection. So
Fair
Hello,
enough.
my bodyguard.
and he'll take off some of the more ornamental, the bit of the fancier stuff. Scott puts a little bit of scuffs in his things just to adopt that more what he was used to more of the mercenary for hire and in the Incarthan Lake area.
It seems like either maybe Vanarel or Libbiel would be best at presenting our case to the dock workers. I can act as a scribe, take out a book and start taking notes.
I guess I can play at the fancy lady who's pretending to be a traveling merchant.
What are we going to be merchants of?
Well, not fingers, because I already gave one away. So, I mean, we've got lots of random magical items. I don't see why we couldn't be merchants of, magical variety.
Alzarius
That's
would
a good
mention
cover.
maybe something less valuable, and
True.
again, to avoid attracting additional fees and taxes and what others may call bribes. It looks like he knows they're bribes, but refuses to call them bribes for his own faith. But
We have a lot of common
I'm
here.
going-
Maybe we just kind of have it on the outside, and can have.
I'm going to
of
hold
that.
up my little hexing jar with the flower in it. I could be a florist.
and so you're having this discussion as you are on the boat. It is taking, it's going to take about a 10-hour journey to get to Zaire, and we'll put you on a new map.
Yeah.
Well,
We're going
It's
to
not a boat.
immediately out ourselves.
welcome to Zaire.
It's not a boat
Yeah.
with Sahag.
Even from the distance, it's obvious that Zaire is a divided city. Atop a hill in the center of the town, the heart of Zaire is a gleaming city of pale marble, flowing silks, towering statues, and gold-plated ornaments. Surrounding this gem is a ring of squalor. Run-down, dirty wooden structures, some built roughly atop one another, are the rule here, all choked by smoke and fumes from the industry that creates so much wealth for the priests of the living god. And you arrive at the riverfront docks. You are hailed by a trio of priests waiting from the end of the dock. They are checking in all visitors and requesting the 1 gold piece per visitor tithe.
Whole gold piece. What?
Yes, 1 gold piece, entrance to our fair city. It is a totally reasonable price.
I think something on the order of
I
silver.
get in for 6 silver.
Your boat, you could go back and
Cool.
stay on your boat if you do not wish to pay.
Just pay the man. We've got work to do.
What kind of work are
Wait.
you doing?
I'm looking to set up a little florist shop to sell my flowers. I only have the one right now, so we're going to have to see if we can get some planters in the city. I'd really like to save some gold so I can buy those planters.
If you cannot spare the gold, then it is unlikely you are a successful enough merchant to do business here.
Okay, she's going to fish around and plot the gold pieces for everyone. I assume we've arranged beforehand for Libby to have a gold from everybody.
Sure. Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think you probably have the pouch that Delamain gave of the money. So
Oh, right.
They quickly count
Okay.
the 5 gold because it's the 4 of you plus Alzarius, and very well. Glory to the living god. Be about your business. and
Yeah.
you're in the city now.
Glory to the living God.
And what
Okay.
Find some lodging first, and then start looking
I
around.
have a thing for this.
what
I
is
don't
your
think
thing?
it's going to work, but I do have this lovely thing called a home in every port, which I just sent blind.
I see it.
Reveal to everyone. You have a reputation in towns and villages you've visited. Unfortunately, this I think only applies to something I've been in before.
It looks like if you spend 8 hours here, you could find something. But
So let's.
We got in late at night, basically.
yeah,
At this point, yeah.
Also, it may be worth paying some gold. They seem to be watching that people are doing what they say, and maybe they won't follow us exactly, but if we're shacked up in some rundown house across town, I don't think it'll look very good.
Why don't we
Oh,
just find a
fine.
decent looking inn around the dock for now, and then tomorrow maybe we can scout
I
out a
could
more
make
permanent
some
residence?
Alzarius will
Okay.
mention a place called the Benevolent Bounty as a riverfront establishment frequented by merchants and visitors. He says it is somewhat well watched by the Razmiri clergy, but at the same time, they tend to ignore comings and goings a tiny bit more from it. The innkeeper is known for paying excessive tithes in order to ensure his patrons have a little bit less problems.
That sounds fine. It's pretty late in the day at this point. We can stay
Okay.
there tonight and determine if something else makes more sense to I suppose.
And you would be met by the owner, Fernagas Fast. Looks like a bearded orc, or more of a mutton chopped orc, with a kind of a rough visage and very gruff. What do you need?
Hello there. What a fantastic pair of chops you got there. We would like to have how many rooms? 2? 3? She looks at the party.
2 seems fine.
Okay. 2 rooms for us.
How big
Uh,
are these rooms?
Rooms hold 2 comfortably, 4 less comfortably. Simple place. 5 silver a night.
Maybe we get 3. We want to think about setting up some goods here too.
I don't need
Yeah.
anything too comfortable, but 3 sounds good.
Breakfast and dinner is simple food but included. Lunch you're on your own. We don't like people coming
Okay.
back into the inn in the middle of the day. It's really just a place to flop for the night.
Makes sense. Gotta
That's
clean up.
understandable.
Simple and straightforward. Sounds good.
So I guess we'll hand them it's 15 silver.
For one night.
Is this also covered?
Yeah, there is probably about 50-ish gold in the pouch. You use 10 to get here, plus 3 for the bribe, so if you use 13.
We should probably get
Okay.
it for a few nights. We've got
Yeah.
things to do.
Might set up base. That's fine. So we can give them enough. Basically, we'll give them 5, and a little bit of a tip for the 3 days.
Okay.
Okay.
So it seems like anything you want to do in the evening, or are you resting for the night and starting in the morning?
I'm going to have to start making connections, unfortunately. So I'd like to go out on the town.
Okay. What are you doing out on the
And
town?
she's basically going to map the city by following the major fairs. And every now and then she'll stop in a shop, introduce herself, see what they got on offer, maybe buy a trinket or two, and then move on.
Okay.
So can I roll a society at that to learn this town really in depth, go
Sure.
through it?
Yeah, me send a society check to the chat there for you to roll on.
Okay.
Yeah, you're learning your way around the town. The one thing you're hearing on the streets, not that no one's directly talking this is more things you're overhearing as you're making your way, is that dozens
Mhm.
of people have gone missing in the past few weeks. All of them down around the docks. And you've also heard it's not just us. A high-ranking priest, Ventilax, is also missing.
I'm not going to directly
Yeah.
show that I'm interested, but I'm going to definitely listen in.
He was, you're like, really? Ventilax is gone? I never liked him. He was overbearing. Don't say that out loud. But yes, he's been missing. Going on 2 weeks now.
So that
Okay.
would be before our time frame of him having even potentially sent this letter.
Uh,
Did somebody? Would you?
Well,
I would
so
encourage
right
you
now
to
I
take
believe
somebody
Libbiel
with
is
you.
off doing this by herself. So what are the 3 of you doing while Libbiel was walking, getting a feeling for the city?
I'd be at the. I mean, I'm assuming this establishment has a reasonable patronage and they serve drinks and probably have people coming in and out.
Sure.
I'd just be chatting with people, just to kind of get a feel for the city and, maybe just gathering some information, I think.
Okay. You can roll me a
I
diplomacy
think
check for that.
Daegron would have gone with Libbiel to play the role of bodyguard. He would have a few steps and played the bored bodyguard, following someone around. At most, just keeping his ears open for people talking around.
Okay.
Libby doesn't even have to be a tourist.
So, Dezi, I mean, what you're hearing is still everyone is talking about these missing people. Everyone's like, it's good to be inside. There's the curfew, but everyone likes to be in before the curfew. Weird things happen at night. People are missing, and it's safe during the day, but be inside at night is what you're hearing, Dezi.
Look over at Vanarel and be like, well, I'm glad I put status on Libbiel.
And
Indeed.
if you want to give me a perception check, Daegron, from just kind of observing and watching,
Sure. Okay. Do one here.
you can tell that it does feel like people are watching you and Libbiel. Not in a completely like you're under observation way, but in a you're outsiders, they don't know you, they want to make sure you're not going to cause problems way. No one's following you or tailing you. Just whatever group you're in, there seems to always be someone watching you.
Yeah, I think if he's used to this. Anyone starts kind of getting a little too close, he glares at him. Just looking to be intimidating in the sense of, I'm going around with the person who's hired me. Don't you cause trouble here.
Give me an intimidation check.
Sure. We're pretty good at those. That's my second mastered skill.
You're not having quite the effect that you're used to. It does look like people are backing off, but they're not being quite as cowed as you'd expect. But then again, this is a very rough part of the city, and they are probably used to everyone reacting that way. What would you be doing?
I think I'm just staying back at the inn, just sort of keeping my ears open, not making too much of a scene or I'm not trying to like talk with anyone, just kind of like just ears open, seeing what stories are being told here.
Okay, you can roll me. I guess I would probably take perception for that. You're also hearing the same mumblings about missing people, and that seems to be the biggest topic on people's minds down here. Definitely some fear, some suspicion. Everyone's wondering if there was some cult here that's been cracked down, and no one's talking about what actually happened. They know better than to speculate too much about such things. It does seem every now and then that is known to happen in this location of some group comes in from outside and tries to start a new church here, and suddenly they all go missing. They haven't heard about that, but that's the pattern that they've seen in the past that makes them not want to ask questions and get caught up in whatever sweep may have happened here. The fact that there's a missing priest, though, does seem to belie that story, but it's the common story here, and it does feel like that's the general consensus, and it's better not to ask questions.
Okay.
So it gets to be like 8 or 9 at night. I will try to get Libbiel's attention via the B signal. I don't know how late they were planning to stay out.
Well, if they're mentioning curfews outside, I'm going to be back before any kind of curfew.
Yeah, if Libbiel got distracted, Daegron would remind her that we don't want to be around here once the curfew's in place. This is a rough area.
Yeah, especially not on our first night.
So you all arrive back at the inn and retire for the evening. Anything you want to do overnight, or are we fast forwarding to the morning?
Well, I think getting everyone in together in one word, and this is what I saw, and it made us a little, I met some people while I was out. I think I can cover rooms if we didn't already pay for one.
Oh, well, okay. Well, at least I think sharing information is generally like just what we both found out, and making sure. And generally, what's our plan for tomorrow? Is it to ask around the city, maybe look for where we think these people might have come from a sewer, see what the layout is society-wise via that?
Yeah. Did I hear about anyone specifically missing someone from their family that I can go directly talk to?
I don't think you got a name of a person at this point yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Ventilax
Well, I
missing
think we
seems
need
suspicious.
to look into maybe not necessarily Ventilax because that's a little suspicious, but maybe one of the other people around that went missing and see if we can stop in and talk to their family, perhaps.
If nothing else, we can always check for entrances near the dock to the sewers.
Yeah.
That seems like a good idea, or at least, yeah.
I don't want to dig around at night, but if we know where to go, it may be where we want to head before curfew hits tomorrow night.
And being I mean, I don't want to be out after curfew, but being a target for this group isn't the worst thing in the world. It might lead us to find out more about them too.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of inclined to just go out and see what happens, but that's just me.
I think that's not a bad idea. We could ask around some more, or try to keep it a little subtle. We don't want to seem like we're inquiring too much, but if we're just thinking about setting up a business, certainly knowing about people going disappearing is something we'd be asking.
But it can't be tonight because I don't want to get thrown out of the city.
Oh no, we're talking in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like we are ready to advance to the morning then. So it is day 1 in Zaire. And what are you doing?
Should we start at the
I would
docks
hit
and
that
then kind of
quest.
wander elsewhere? We're near there anyway.
Go grab some breakfast and do a walk of the dock.
Yeah, it seems like a logical first place.
And I'm going to maybe split off and go away from to like houses and see if I can hear anybody speaking specifically about the missing people and see if I can find anyone affected by that.
So Libbiel is kind of going to more residential slum areas. I think Dezi is heading, or is it, who was heading to the docks specifically?
Daegron's going to go for sure. He wants to just do a walk of the dock side here.
I'll take a look too, and be asking around as we go. But yeah.
Okay.
That was Vanarel's plan as well.
Okay, so I'll start with Libbiel, who is off by herself. I can take probably society, diplomacy, or perception based on how active or not active you are in reaching out and talking to people versus just listening to people. So society, if you're more kind of following the flow of traffic and how people are behaving. Perception, if you're trying to eavesdrop. And diplomacy, if you're just interacting with them directly.
I'm going to diplomacy because I want to interact with them directly. I want to get engaged with some of the conversations. Bia has Snoop, which aids in diplomacy checks to gather information. So I assume that will apply here.
Sure.
Okay. So let's just do a diplomacy with a +1, I assume. I don't remember what aid is a status? Circumstance?
Circumstance, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
I don't think you're stacking anything, so I don't think it really matters which is which. So just put the +1 on and roll.
I forgot to hit the.
Yep, that's fine. You can tell no one seems to have anything to. They're all reasonably pleasant, but a little suspicious, and it seems like, as you heard, they are worried that maybe people were caught up in some sort of religious purge and are worried about being connected to it. So you're not finding much out there. But for the other 3 walking the docks, what is your approach here?
I'm sorry, Vanarel, you are a sailor, right? You might be better off talking sailing stuff with some of the dock folk. I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, it's certainly a place to start. I was thinking of just heading out to the docks, just kind of like walking the general perimeter, seeing like what I might notice in terms of stuff that's a little less populated, therefore less safe, therefore might be a good spot to disappear people.
Sure. What were you thinking, Daegron?
Daegron, again, he's just looking for any entrances to the sewers he could possibly see, since he with the boots and everything. At the very least, he thinks they came out from the sewers, whether they were using it to travel from the inner district or something. He feels like we're going to end up down there, so he's looking for people are disappearing down here. If they're getting grabbed, that seems like a way they could go.
I could take.
And I'll try the diplomacy to talk to people.
Okay, I can take perception from Daegron for spotting the sewer. Yep. I would take, if you have like sailing lore, I would take that from Vanarel, or otherwise a society or perception, it feels like. And it felt like Dezi was going for diplomacy. So those are the roles. And what type of diplomacy were you asking about, Dezi? What are you trying to learn?
Just kind of, I mean, we're merchants plausibly, so what's crime like in this area? What's been happening? I heard there was a disappearance. What's going on with that? The priests are disappearing. Trying to loosen some lips a little
Okay. So, Daegron, you can tell that the water is discolored down this way on the southern and eastern kind of shore of this bay. It does look like the river itself looks pristine and very clean water flowing in, and even the piers around where you docked looks like the water is on the cleaner end that you're used to seeing around a port. There's still of course some trash being thrown in there. There's still all kinds of crates or planks that have been washed overboard. The piers themselves are not in the best shape. They're a little rotting here and there, not the best maintained. But it does not look and does not smell like sewage on the side that you're on. It might smell like dead fish, but not like sewage. But you do see discolored water flowing kind of down this way.
Okay. He'll make note of that. And once we're back, let the group know that it seems like everything seemed clean along the ways they were going. If there's something discoloring the water and some sort of contaminant, that might be where they're looking for.
And then Dezi, very similar to Libbiel, people don't seem to want to talk. You even catch, it seems like people are starting to wonder if you're safe to talk to. They seem to think you're asking too many questions and you're too new to the city, and people are clamming up around you a little bit.
That was a critical fail. I will
It
use.
was not a critical fail, it was a regular
Okay,
fail.
fair enough. Yep.
And Vanarel, you're looking around. You said you wanted to see like where it's crowded or easier to disappear people. And what you're
Yeah.
seeing is the northern piers that you're all along. These seem to be the visiting merchants, people plying the trade regularly, one or two fancier boats as well. The eastern piers over on this side, that seems to be all these faith barges, which do seem to be filled with a lot of kind of day laborers, people to help row the oars, it seems like that might be some of the lowest tier jobs here that people who are down on their luck go to take. And that would probably be
Okay.
the biggest crowds.
Okay.
I suggest we meet up with Libbiel. This is presumably when we are back, at least the three of us together. I know Libbiel was going wandering elsewhere a bit, but maybe we check out that discolored water a little closer. I'm kind of, I don't know, I want to talk to too many more people. I don't want to draw too much attention in that sense.
Yeah, it's worth taking a look into. I found a bit about the main differences between the two largest dock areas.
So you're heading over, it sounds like, to the eastern docks. And what do you want to do there?
Libby, you think you could get
Do
a
we have
sample of
to?
that water without being too
No,
contentious about it?
you guys deal with that. I'm going back into this part of the city and
But
seeing if
wait,
anyone's disappeared.
Libbiel,
I don't
okay.
want to do anything with the sewers.
No, well, can you at least get a sample of the water? I'm not asking you to go to the sewers yet.
Yeah.
Here, you can have Bia. Get Bia to do it. She passes over the fancy purse.
I mean, I don't think we can have Bia out here without it being very, like, the B with writing, pulling that out seems like a bad idea.
So I can take the diplomacy check from Libbiel, who wanted to talk to the families here. For the other three of you, what are you doing?
The
You
same
guys can grab
thing.
the
He's going to head down. He's
sample
going to look for
however
sewer
you
entrances.
want. Like, push one of you off into the sewer water, whatever.
General, can you grab a sample for me? I'm just going to
Yeah.
try to look around and see if I see anything suspicious.
I
Okay.
can do that. It's just the ocean.
Yep.
So,
Well,
yeah.
more, I don't want to, like, I'm going to seem very conspicuous trying to reach into the ocean to get water. I figure somebody can do that better than me.
Diplomacy from Libbiel, yeah, it's still people here. It's being tough. People don't like to open up to strangers. Dezi with a perception check, just looking around. Daegron. Well, actually, first, for those
No.
of you who are here, not counting Libbiel, what in particular are you trying to look for?
I'm looking
I'm
around the
gonna
area where the
reroll
water
real
is
quick.
bad to see if I can figure out maybe where it's coming from or, something along those lines. Or what's going on with it.
Okay.
Yeah, Dagron's just looking for the same thing. Entrances or exits to the sewers that might be close to the river here. Or to the bank, I should say.
And Vanarel is just trying to get quite literally a closer look at the water, just trying to scoop some of it up, trying to see if it's some kind of like, if it's just a discoloration or if it's like some kind of debris that's turning it this foul color.
If you have survival, I would take that as probably the best roll for that, Vanarel. If not, I would fall back to crafting, and then I guess maybe society or medicine.
Okay. I will toss a survival out then.
So we'll jump to Libbiel's first, because Libbiel used a hero point on a roll there, and then we'll jump to what the three of you all got together. And Libbiel would have now heard a distraught lady asking if anyone has seen her husband, Grefton Henash. He's been missing for almost a week now, and she doesn't know where he is, and she's just, please, I need him back.
She's going to ask some questions. Do you know can you describe what he looks like? Do you know where he's been lately?
He was trying to get work. He was injured in one of the tanneries and couldn't work there. He was going down to try to work at the barges. They take everyone. He didn't return one night. The barge master said he wasn't on the boat though, and I haven't heard much since. I don't know. Let me see.
His description kind of matched one of the bodies we found.
So the description is he's a youngish human man, kind of a newsy style cap, light mustache, little bit of stubble. Here, I'll just share a photo that she would describe.
Okay.
Does not match any of the people you saw, any of the dead bodies.
Thinking to herself, well, he could be alive. That's good news. So maybe I should check down at the Faith barges, ask around. He was looking for quick and easy money.
I wouldn't say quick and easy. I would say he was looking for the hard and last resort money.
The desperate money. Got you. I need to some friends and see if we can get approached by someone who's looking for the desperate.
And so while you're doing that discussion, the other three, let's see, double checking the numbers. Yes. So Vanarel, you definitely think you're on the right track. You can smell some sewage smell getting stronger as you come south along the dock. So the closer you get to kind of this area, the worse that smell is. And all along the waterfront here, you do see those blue hyacinths growing in this side of the river here.
Oh, lovely. Well, Libby's not gonna like this.
Fine, Daegron, you were right.
I will pluck a blue hyacinth and bring it back up as if I am wielding horrible, horrible news.
So you compare notes again, and what are you choosing to do?
Is that the flower? No.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I found a missing person. His name is. The names still are my weakness.
Grifton Henash, you say?
Yeah, Grifton Hernash. His distraught wife is looking for him, and he was getting desperate for money. Maybe that's our way in. Maybe we need to make one of you look really desperate.
Poor guy. I bet you it would be nice if somebody rescued him in the sewer.
He probably doesn't want to be in the sewers
For
either.
that, sounds like you're a volunteer. She's going to push you into the sewage water. Here, see if you can look desperate for money.
Give me a perception check if it's in the water here, Dezi.
I'm not troubling Libby. Where's the water here? Like the shallow end of the water down near the shore? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, it's a good cover if she pushed you in for you going in there.
Sorry, that rolled public.
That's fine. No,
I didn't.
you definitely see a number of. I think you did the "you see it, I see it, no one else sees it" version, Dezi. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
You see a number of portcullises. There's like maybe one portcullis per, basically under each dock. That does look like they are sewer outflows.
Oh, hey, Dezi. Good work. I found the sewer entrances. Now we can all go.
I know someone who's going to love that, Dezi. Don't worry.
Did I say
Lovely.
Dezi? I meant Libby. I'm not sure.
You said Dezi. You sound like you were talking to yourself.
I
Which
meant to say
seemed
Libby.
fitting in
I
this
was not
moment.
aiming for the third person, but yeah. Fair. Yeah.
I guess also I wanted to ask, have you been having Alzarius come with you, or is he staying at the inn all day? What was the plan with him?
Elzarius can accompany us if he wants to.
I figured we'd have him accompany us because worst case, he's the one who's got knowledge.
Yeah,
if something
okay.
kicks off with
he is with you. He does seem to. You can tell he's having to resist some of his urges at times to either berate someone who might be being a little less polite toward Razmiri than they should, or at the same time maybe seeming a little repelled by some of the complete squalor here. You feel like maybe he's been shielded from some of this a little bit, or maybe he's forgotten how bad it can be.
Would being drunk help you or hurt you in keeping your cool?
I think I need to stay sober here. I do not want to give anything away accidentally.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about going to the sewers?
No one wants
Please.
to go to the sewers, but this seems like where the investigation is leading.
Question
Yeah.
is, do we do it before the curfew or after?
Sneaking over here would be difficult. I'm not sure.
I
I
think
could
if
probably
our
have us put up over here if you'd like.
Bill, you know any places to stay, like right around this dock area?
Yeah. So let's go stay with a friend.
Are you? I know
Or
it's
I'm in more Minton.
it sounded like you had prepaid for a couple of days back at the other place, though. So are you abandoning that? Are you not going back? What are you doing there?
Well, it would be hard to get all the way back over here under the guise of stealth, right?
Probably yes.
Yeah, I was
So
thinking the same line. We're gonna hang out here until
I don't think there's any inn on this side, Desi. So I think we are going to have to stay with one of my friends that we've made.
I mean, do we know there's no inns on this side? I don't know what the situation is over here. So.
This area is some of the deepest slums and the kind
Okay,
of
so
some of
probably.
the this is there may be a couple of really bad hostel type places, but
There might be a boarding house. of
We don't want
some
things to get
kind.
hostile, so I think we maybe stay with your friend.
You know, group rooms and that sort of thing.
we're
Well,
also not staying overnight, so just waiting until the sun goes down and it gets dark.
you think she'd be willing to take us in? I think you're good. You might have to chat with her.
Yeah, I'll go chat with her. I'm gonna tell her about like sort of our ideas that we've been piecing together, and we think they might have took him down to the sewers. If you can give us a few hours of your time while we around here and wait for the cover of darkness to go down there, we'll be very willing to help you find Grifton.
and give
We
me a
haven't been as good
diplomacy
as-
check on that.
Okay, and this is without the unfortunately.
She will agree to that. Not overnight, you understand. I can't have anyone in the house
Oh, no.
overnight, but and if you get caught, please leave my name out of this.
Absolutely.
But you're able to hang out here for most of the day. And what time
Well,
are you trying to leave here to do your next thing?
what time
I
does
would
curfew
probably
kick
leave
in?
almost immediately to go try to get more information. But
Okay.
like around curfew, I'd come back.
So the curfew, we're going to say it's 9 p.m. ish. Nightfall is currently around 7. So it's about 2 hours after full dark.
So maybe we're just there from shortly before nightfall till curfew. Libya, we might want to, see what happens before that.
Once it's dark, but before curfew, let's start moving, just in case we're seen and there's still a reason for us to be out.
Well, we could go house shopping, quote unquote, to see if we can find a reasonable plot of land, if that's, our cover. But I'm going to be mostly just listening in on conversations some more.
I can take another diplomacy check then from Libbiel on that.
Okay. All right. And make sure I'm blind.
You're not actually finding anyone who seems to be trying to isolate people out or pull people aside or offer them a great deal. It seems like things are a little quiet right now. People are coming back off of the faith barges looking absolutely exhausted after a day of rowing and traversing the waterways here. They look just utterly drained and exhausted. Not like mindless zombies. I'm not trying to give that impression, but they do look like they want to just head home, fall in a bed, and go to sleep. Most of them do not
Is there
want to chat with anyone.
Is there any particularly lively ones I can maybe have a word with?
No, they seem like they have no energy left.
Okay. God.
And
All
so
right.
then
I guess
the party, it sounds like,
Hmm?
is reassembling. It's right at this kind of, right after the golden hour. It's getting into true night, and it's not quite curfew, but you're heading back down to the docks. And what are you doing there?
Well, do we keep our
Alright.
eyes out for someone, or do we try
We're
to get
flower
down?
merchants. Let's pick some of those pretty blue hyacinths down there. Don't we need
Yeah,
to
I'm
dig
sure
some out of the. Yeah.
people would love sewer flowers. Let's go get some. I'm going to take a look at those gates to see if there's one that's been obviously opened recently.
Sure, give me a perception check on that.
Yeah, Daegron will climb down to gather some of the flowers, and he'll do a perception check then.
Yep, roll me that one.
I'm gonna take a look to see if anybody's keeping an eye on us in general. Perception. Same kind of thing.
Okay.
I
Yes.
guess I will.
So, Dezi, you feel like no one is watching you at the moment. You're actually a little puzzled by that. It seems like you always had people watching you here. So maybe coming here right as curfew is coming, you might have just slipped when everyone's more worried about themselves and not being caught. Libbiel and Daegron, you both see that there are a number of sewer outlets here. They are differing widths, some 15 feet down to only 2 feet wide. So there's some large, some small. The smell here is horrible. If you're using scent, which none of you are, there is a massive penalty. But there is one that does have a lock on it that looks like it's been used more recently.
Alright, I'm going to pop the lock on that.
Sure, go ahead and give me a thievery check.
I don't think anyone's watching.
Yeah.
I'll kind of move over and just keep an eye.
This is going to be aided by Bia, because Bia has a thing for this. Sorry, add a modifier for it.
That does not get it. But as you're trying to pick the lock, you also feel that it might be possible to simply lift it. You feel like it's less that it's locked and more that it's just a very heavy grate, and that the lock might be just for
Okay.
show.
Okay.
Okay,
Daegron will step up,
Big-
sets his
Other
feet, and
variety of
he'll try to heave it up.
Can I have Bia
Oh,
aid?
yeah, we need
Daegron?
I need my person on the map.
Okay.
I'll
Let
give you an
me
aid here.
do that. So that's
Plus
an
one.
aid from Dezi.
For some reason, it doesn't want to work. I'll just roll it normally here.
That's fine.
So +1.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a fail. You strain.
I'm gonna re-roll it.
Okay.
I got 2. Might as well use it.
And that easily lifts this up. Let me put you on a new map.
You should have warmed up first, Daegron. Jeez.
Everybody in.
What did I tell you about the stretches first?
Well, I just wanted to look cool.
Yeah, well.
Let's see, where
Look
did
cool.
the stench of the sewers under Zaire may have been unpleasant outside by the docks, but here within the sewers, it's nearly overwhelming. Glowing strings of mold exude enough dim light to suggest this tunnel has seen far more traffic than one would expect from a place so foul. Boot prints can be clearly seen in the muck, and the fungal growth on the walls seems almost cultivated. The sounds of the riverfront fade away, only to be replaced by the skittering of rodents and the slow drip and gurgle of the sewer's old pipes. And do I have a
Get on
different...
my staff and fly. Not touching this stuff.
Yeah, as we're stepping in here, Daegron grabs one of his a piece of clothing from his backpack and starts wrapping around his face. And he goes, "Maybe it'll help a little bit. I don't know."
Yeah, what are exploration mode activities now? Let me actually...
I'm going to keep detect magic and do like active searching for magical stuff.
Okay. So I currently see Daegron as defending, which is our stand-in for your dueling parry, I believe. Dezi is
But I
searching.
think I might shift from that because now we have the dueling. We have more. It's a stance, and I don't feel like it would be fair to kick into a stance.
Yeah,
right
you
away
can't
with it.
can't do that. But if you wanted to have still been using dueling parry directly, that would still be...
He's going to be keeping his eyes out in here more than be purely on the defense. He's watching for ambushes more than anything. So I'm going to switch up
to scout.
Yep, scout will work.
Does my
And-
trap finding only work while I'm searching for traps?
Trap finding should always give you a chance. So even if you're doing something else,
Okay.
as long as you have sufficient training for the level of the trap, you get the automatic check.
Okay.
And your perception, not that that might matter, is what level? Is expert. Okay, good to know. And Vanarel, what were you doing?
I have shifted to cover tracks. I just think it might be a good idea that since we are sort of in the middle of a city, let's not give any signs, or as few signs as possible, that we are going down into the sewers here.
Are we getting our friend as a token here, or is
I
that,
will
like,
put him on
participating
if
in
it
that?
matters. Let's, because it does say
I will move him around if you give me ownership, so you don't have to worry about it.
I will do. That's a good idea. Let me.
I assume keep him in the back.
Yes. Let's see. I'll get that fixed for next time. I'm not seeing the ownership option right at the moment. So yes, ahead of you, this is what you see. What are you doing?
Daegron will start slowly leading the way in here, keeping his eyes peeled as he can see in the dark. I don't know what light you guys are going to want to use.
There is dim light everywhere here due to the lichen on the walls.
I'm good with that.
Well, I have
Yeah,
low light, so I'm good.
I cannot move straight
Alright.
forward.
that's a
Oh.
yeah. You got
Yeah,
walk
there's
down.
a wall.
Single door.
Sorry, I didn't notice the fence with all of us standing near it.
Yeah, me either.
Well, I would move him, but he's just going to have to catch up.
He's with us.
And
in
we'll
spirit.
pause right there as two things happen. The pipes on the wall right above Daegron begin spewing forth extra sewage, and then two creatures jump out of the water. And we will roll initiative, but play that next session. So I'm toggling you all in. Go ahead and roll your initiative.
You
I-
should get +1 from the scout also.
I got incredible, so I can...
Oh, wait, I pressed the wrong button. I think I rolled for all of you. I don't want to do that. Roll for NPCs. There we go. Let's see. Did we get rolls from Daegron and...
Not yet.
Okay.
I went from a
I'm
2 to a 1
last.
with my roll.
Okay, so yep. As I said, we're not doing this encounter this week because we are right at time. But the two things that have burst out of the ground, you have these, what looks like an ooze that is completely coated, a skeleton of some kind. You see the
Wow.
rib cage bursting out of the ooze along with a horned skull, and you see all kinds of other filth embedded in that ooze. And you
Painless, I would do a knowledge check with this. I don't know if you want me to just wait till next time so it's more applicable. I get it with the roll of initiative.
we'll do it now, and I'll remind it next time as well. So give me the roll now.
Okay. I'm gonna assume this is some sort of occultism check, so I'll go with that.
You know these are. You get two rolls. Is that how this works? Or
I get the better of the two.
got
so...
it. Okay. Yes, you just barely. At first, you were thinking this was some sort of variant black pudding, but then you remembered there are these demons called omexes, and you're pretty sure that's what these are. Seemingly made from living, animated filth, omexes have no true anatomy, although they generally spend most of their time in roughly humanoid shapes, resembling some grim caricature of a half-mounted humanoid. Scholars believe these are foul demons to be a pure, concentrated form of the corruption that suffuses the outer rifts in its inhabitants, while in truth, you know they arise from the souls of those who routinely befouled and polluted their surroundings in life. So they are a type of demon. And what would have been your one question about them?
I guess probably weaknesses or, resistance if it's not.
Like almost all demons, they have a weakness to cold iron and holy.
Good enough. Trying to spat out that information very quickly if I'm able. But yeah.
And so, yes, that is what we will pick up. So we will pick this up next week with the trap triggering on Daegron and then the first round of combat. And thank you all for tuning in.